Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, for our third term, Week 1 overview, we are diving into the origins of one of the absolute most complex political systems in all of Africa, and that's Nigeria's federal structure. We're going to completely unpack the specific historical events and the really deep-seated motivations that gave birth to this whole system. Because listen, this isn't just some boring list of dates, right? It's literally the origin story of a modern nation. So let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because the fundamental question that was just staring early administrators right in the face was this: how on earth do you govern a massive, incredibly diverse nation? I mean, we aren't talking about some small, homogeneous territory where one simple set of rules applies to absolutely everyone. No way. We are talking about a massive, intricate puzzle of humanity. And without a system that actually respected those complex realities, well, the whole project of a united country seriously risked just collapsing right under its own weight.
Section 1. Forces behind the formation. Essentially, why federalism?
The absolute first massive factor here is deep cultural diversity. Nigeria's cultural fabric is, it's just incredibly rich and varied. You have literally hundreds of distinct ethnic groups and vastly different traditional political systems right next to each other. You've got the highly centralized emirate systems up in the north, the more decentralized republican-style systems in the east, and then the constitutional monarchies over in the west. Trying to force all of these unique identities into one rigid, centralized box? Yeah, that would only create severe friction. A federal system was just desperately required to properly accommodate these different cultural identities within one united, yet flexible nation.
Then, you've got the sheer physical reality, the massive landmass and the huge population. Just think about the geography for a second here. The physical scale of the territory, coupled with a rapidly expanding population, made centralized, uniform control completely impractical. Especially when you think about early 20th century technology. I mean, you couldn't just sit in a central capital and effectively manage the day-to-day needs of millions of people who are thousands of miles away. It just wouldn't work. Power simply had to be decentralized. That way, regional authorities could actually reach, understand, and effectively govern their local populations.
So the crucial point is that federalism wasn't chosen by, just randomly flipping a coin. It was built on 5 undeniable pillars. Beyond that deep cultural diversity and massive size we just talked about, it was also a major administrative desire of the British colonial government. Plus, the distinct regions themselves realized that coming together would ensure vital collective security. And finally, it was seen as the absolute best way to harness all those diverse regional resources for the betterment of everyone. So all 5 of these factors combine to make federalism the undeniable path forward.
Moving right along to Section 2, the unconscious beginning, a gradual evolution. Let's move to and see how this builds. Because this grand system actually began quite unconsciously. It really wasn't meticulously mapped out on some brilliant architectural blueprint right from the very beginning. Actually, it started almost by accident with the 1914 amalgamation by Sir Lord Lugard. He brought the territories together on paper, sure, but he left them largely distinct in practice. Then, fast forward through decades of evolving administrations, and we hit a major catalyst in 1953, the London Constitutional Conference. That is where leaders finally agreed a federal system was absolutely essential. And that directly sets the stage from 1954, when the London Constitution officially introduces true federalism. Let's look at the contrast here, because it really clarifies this whole evolution. Early on, succeeding governor-generals essentially divided Nigeria into provinces purely for administrative convenience. It was somewhat arbitrary. Really just a way to make colonial management easier, not any sort of genuine sharing of political power. But contrast that early setup with the true federalism that finally arrived with the 1954 Littleton Constitution. This wasn't just, drawing random lines on a map anymore. This was a formal, legally bound structure that officially distributed actual legislative power, a real game changer.
Section 3. The road to true federalism. The watershed moment.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the Littleton Constitution was the true watershed moment that transformed Nigeria from a unitary state into a genuine federation. The exact mechanism of that transformation? It was the division of legislative power into 3 very distinct lists. First, you have the exclusive list, which contained matters that only the central government could handle. Then, the concurrent list, which featured areas where both the central and regional governments could make laws. And crucially, the residual list. This gave regional houses the constitutional power to pass laws on literally any matters not found on the other 2 lists. This precise, calculated separation of power is the absolute bedrock of the entire federal system.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty profound question to ponder.
how does the structure built way back in 1954 shape the metamorphosed Nigeria of today? Because the federal framework established by that Littleton Constitution is the exact foundation upon which modern Nigerian politics has evolved. As you look at today's political landscape, with all its ongoing debates and complex regional dynamics, remember that you are looking at the direct descendants of these foundational decisions. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking that direct path to understanding.